I've always had people tell me, just act. And if you think about it, there is some truth to it. You need to act to move forward. But just take a moment and look around at some of the most successful people of our time. Do you think they put in the action and that's it? No, because there is no point of action if there is no destination. Before hard work, a destination must be somewhat clear. I know it sounds like common sense, but most people don't have a destination in mind. In other words, they don't know what they're struggling for. And if that's the case, in my opinion, you are better off doing nothing than purposeless action. And I mean that. Most people would perceive that as, I don't need to do work. But no, you aren't even going to achieve the slightest bit without the work. I'm telling you to work, but on the right thing. The only way you understand what's right and wrong is if you choose the right destination from the very beginning and if it truly comes from you. So if your life sucks right now, then good. It's meant to suck because you didn't think your life through. That's why this one's going to be important, because most of your success will come from your level of thinking and strategy. And there is a right and wrong way to go about it. What's the right way? It's to acknowledge that you have full control. And because you have full control, you are the driver. Now, imagine a driver that doesn't know the destination. You must have the big picture. You must have a vision. And then, and only then, can you re-engineer and work hard towards that vision. I've been in many job interviews in the past, and the one good thing I've noticed about job interviews is how they use that question very often. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? And you know what the surprising thing is? It's the question and topic that most people get stuck on. Taking control of your life doesn't mean to follow the crowd and do what everyone else does. It's a matter of strategic thinking. It's about deciding where you see yourself in 5 years, in 5 months, and even in 5 days. And that should be backed by what you do today. It's stupid because even when people plan out their entire life, they're doing it with the opinions and values of others. You are where you are because you've given into other people's story of where you should be instead of giving into your own. But the truth is that it's never been about other people. It's never been about competition. And I don't say that to sound soft or give you a compliment. I'm saying it because I genuinely mean it. It's one of my strongest beliefs. Your biggest competitor is you. It's never been other people. Why? Because you will battle more with yourself than any other person or the world for that case. Life will always be a constant battle between your lower self and your higher self, not other people. You are your biggest enemy, and if there's anything that will throw you off of your big vision, it's you, not other people. Now, let's take a quick look into the different ways that you fail to think and strategize. And yes, I'm talking from experience. The first one is not being able to think in macro and micro terms. This is a skill. This is how you should think. Think macro, big things, big vision, and think micro, the little things, your daily routine. You must jump back and forth between the macro and the micro. For example, think about your big vision and what you are and what you aren't doing to back that today. Most people don't do this. They either get motivated by the big vision and don't act, or they just have no destination in mind, doing all the micro day-to-day stuff with no purpose. You lack strategy if you can't delay gratification, right? You have no strategy if your strategy is to give in to every little immediate fun. This is important and the toughest one of all, because if you're self-aware, you will recognize that every marketing plan plays on your weakness of instant gratification. You fail strategy if you are unaware of traps and dead-end avenues. You need to be able to see ahead months and even years from now. It doesn't mean that you know everything. No one does. But you must have an idea of what's coming. Think, what roadblocks or obstacles may I face on my journey to my destination? That leads me on to intelligence. You may lack intel. You may assume that you know everything, which is a disaster. But like I say in every video and every video that is going to come after this one, information is power. Your life purpose should be to build intel. Be open-minded. Don't only consume from one source, but pull in multiple perspectives. Why shouldn't you have knowledge that you can extract from multiple sources? It will only make you more credible. One thing I've struggled with my entire life is self-knowledge. To strategize means knowing yourself. Let me ask you, how do you best learn? Do you learn best by reading, by listening to audios, or by practically doing the task at hand? Study yourself, study your own brain. I've found that I learn best by building, which is to practically do the task at hand. You lack to think and strategize if you constantly chase the small prize rather than the larger prize. You simply have the inability to estimate the worthiness of things. One thing I can pull from my own life is social media. I did short form content for more than half a decade, and what I realized is that I always took the action that brought the small prizes. But what I acknowledge now is how the bigger prize could be YouTube. Why? Not because it's more prestigious to say I'm a YouTuber more than a TikToker, but because I can offer more value via a long form video or article, right? And in that sense, create more impact. The more value you provide, the bigger the game you're in. Always look one prize higher. One final thing is how most people fix problems at the surface level, not at the root, which is why you always have the same problem coming back. You are providing a temporary fix, not a permanent one. So always solve problems, fix problems at the root. These are just some of the ways that you might be fucking up. So what's the proper way to think and strategize? I've got 6 steps for you. The first step of strategic thinking is your intention. What is the ultimate thing that you're striving for? Have you ever thought about it? The outcome you're aiming to reach? If you can't tell what it is, then you've already failed strategic thinking because you have no intent on what you actually want. No intent, no strategy. Be specific with what you want, not vague. Back in the past, when countries would go to war, they all had a specific intention. They would not sacrifice lives for no specific outcome. And the same goes with you. Don't live a life with no intention. Start with intention, then backward engineer what you must do. I've been banging on about destination because if there is no destination, then any turn in any way would be sufficient. Don't let that be you. You need a vision. Most people don't have this, and no wonder why they lack motivation and results. That big vision might change, but every time it does, you must align your daily doings with that big vision. Macro and micro, remember? If the macro changes, then go back to the micro, the small things, and align. Believe it or not, this is how most successful people accomplish extraordinary things that seem impossible to the average person, because the average person has an ordinary view, not an extraordinary view. Basically, they start with strong intention. Now that you have figured out your intention, you have a foundation, but you need to go internal and allocate your time, attention, and energy. This means awareness and planning. Where is your time, attention, and energy going? Life will forever be dynamic and fluid. It will never be static. It is constantly changing, and you must be aware and anticipate the changes. Like I mentioned, especially for the business people out there, you can do all the competitor analysis you want, but realize that the real competition is you, not other people. Are you anticipating the responses of your lower self when you're trying to excel and grow? Are you anticipating how your mind will bring resistance, excuses, and trick you from achieving your intention? If you have no self-awareness, your lower self will always win by default. This one's for all the people who fail to plan and therefore plan to fail. It was me for a very long time. Preparation of resources. You need to think about resources. Your actions and what you can do will be limited if you have no reserves. Most people don't think about reserves. If we bring it back to the war analogy, back in war times, those countries who hadn't thought about reserves were wiped out in an instant because they had no troop, flexibility, food, armor, supply, etc. Again, go internal, look at your level of training, experience, hard work, discipline, unique capabilities, etc. Do you know your strengths and weaknesses? This is all that self-improvement is. You need to develop yourself internally to the point of handling any and all external circumstances. This is by far the most important one. Focused effort. One similarity between war and real life is how the breakthrough in both come via a weak point. In order to win a battle, you must apply focused effort to a point that breaks through to victory. How does this look in real life? Well, look at where you are focusing your efforts. Some people say they lack in time, energy, and attention. But on the contrary, I would say you have so much time, energy, and attention. How are you concentrating those? Where are you putting all your eggs? Into which basket? The right one or the wrong one? You can't do 20 things at once. Nothing moves forward. Everyone has limited resources, like we spoke about in the previous step. You must concentrate your resources and efforts properly. Now, at this point, it's all about discipline. Once you've got your intentions, planning, resources, and where to focus your efforts, you now need to execute, or in other words, organized action. I don't know what it is that you are doing, so I'm not going to talk much on this. But just remember that a great plan, poorly executed, leads to failure. This is also true the other way. Great execution with a poor plan also leads to failure. You need great planning and great execution. This can take years. It just comes down to how bad you want it, as well as your practice of getting good at executing. Get good at getting shit done. Record the video. Create the art. Learn to play that instrument. Code the program. Do it over and over again, and you will ultimately execute without even asking yourself to. No one knows what will happen in the near future. That's why the last step is to remain adaptable. Strategy isn't saying one thing and sticking with it for years. Proper strategy is being flexible and adaptable. Why? Because you can't change the environment, but the environment will constantly change. The battlefield might look like one thing today and a completely different thing tomorrow. You must be willing to adapt to different scenarios. I'm telling you, your plan will change. Don't be attached, rigid, or dogmatic to anything, and be adaptable to almost everything. It goes for everyone who does business. If your business plan fails, then you must go in a different direction. You must be flexible enough to change every now and then from the original idea. Being adaptable and flexible means being open-minded. And those are the 6 steps that I found to be most useful for strategic thinking. I hope you haven't just watched this video and done nothing. I hope you haven't just listened to the things I've said, but studied them and made notes of it. Why? Because you must feed the information into your subconscious mind. Only then does it start to take effect. Also, don't just accept what I say. I know a lot of creators are arrogant in that sense. But think about whether you agree or disagree and how you can incorporate it into your own worldview, because everyone has one. What I'm really trying to say is see if it aligns with your values. The simple summary is that every single move you make must have purpose. You must think, where is this current step leading me? And does it fit into the bigger picture? It's not hard. All you have to do is think about where you want to go. Destination. And ensure that everything you do today and onwards is setting you up for that life that you want, and be flexible enough to adapt. This isn't just about your work. This applies to success in general. Apply strategy to relationships, raising children, workout routines, and everything else. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. All of my links are down in the description, and I'll see you on the next video.